interesting thing when you think about launching a company or building a business is you need to test your market. You need to really understand, do you have that product market fit? Is there a need for what you want to build? And so many times you hear these horror stories of entrepreneurs investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into a product when they're not even certain whether there's a need for that product in the market. Yeah. So we limited our capital injection into the original design. It looked very pretty. There were buttons on the website, but most of those buttons just sent us an email, and we completed all the transactions manually. That allowed us to prove our business model. Hey, this business model works.
Keep your costs down.
Keep our costs down, and then really understand the customer as well, because you're going to be talking to them one-on-one.
Right. So for our listeners out there, Mike's hit on really two really interesting points, is that you've got to do some kind of market research ahead of time. I think sometimes you can overanalyze an idea too, to a certain extent, but also to try to keep your costs down. So I know that when I'm working with, especially younger entrepreneurs, they just want to rush through this process. You can't rush through the process.
One of my favorite ones was regarding, what's the name of the company going to be? Right? We had a lot of people chime in the early days, and you're struggling to find a name or a logo or a brand. And one thing I recommend to every entrepreneur is especially if you haven't gone down that path before, and even if you have, connect with people that have done it. So we, almost daily, I was meeting with entrepreneurs that have built a successful startup, that have gone through those steps, and just pick their brains about it. And one of those conversations came up about branding. And, we were looking and getting quotes of, $20,000-$30,000 to build branding for a company that doesn't exist.
Right.
And, the response was, it doesn't matter what you call your company. What you need to understand and figure out is there a need for what you want to build and sell in the marketplace? You can call yourself 123 RV, but until you've proven that there's a need in the market, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So that was one thing that, when you reflect back on the last 3.5 years, it was probably one of the key messages that we got. We ended up crowdsourcing a design, and we've actually built the brand, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. One of the things I suggest to entrepreneurs all the time is to try to find a mentor. And I can see them kind of squirm when I say that. They think, and I know what they're thinking. There's no way anyone's going to want to spend time. But there's so many people out there that run successful, and really they do want to give back. And as long as it's a two-way relationship, you're not just always taking from that mentor, I think you could cut your learning curve, and I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty damn significant, I would say.
Absolutely. And building a startup, building a company, there's a lot of lonely hours where you're doing a lot of work on your own, and you're kind of removed from a bit of that network. So taking the time to connect with other people that have been through those same situations, that are going through it themselves at the same time, you can cut that learning in half. Yeah. You can learn from other people's mistakes. You can learn from other people's progress. Yeah. So, great Ottawa has a fantastic entrepreneur community, and we all get to know each other and all share insights, and I think that's the best way to move forward.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I've always been a very diversified individual, very, very good at a lot of different things. I've always been the 75-80% at everything, and often told, hey, maybe you should pick something. You might be 100% at it. Right. So I've always been lectured on that school of thought, and I definitely see the value in it. But there's also an argument to be made to have a wide variety of skills and be able to offset some of that. So it's not always feasible. And I think, like you said, it's very situational. Okay. I have a family with 3 children. It'd be awfully hard as a breadwinner of the family to suddenly drop all of that income on a risk, right? Yeah. So I think it really needs to be a balanced decision. Okay. But I definitely understand the argument that you do have to be 110% committed.
Yeah. I think you can make the argument, though, Mike, that, are people using their time outside the 9 to 5 wisely, right? So perhaps rather than maybe jump in all in, instead of watching TV for 3 hours at night. Spend that time on your business, like you said, even if it's just market research to make sure there is an actual viable business there before you figure out what color your logo should be, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Even just that, I think, would go a long way, because you do hear so many stories of people jumping in. There's a lot of success stories where people leave a full-time job, jump right in, and they take off. But and I'm not saying not to do that, but boy, you got to at least do some research. At least make sure the idea is viable, and you got your financial ducks in a row before you make that leap. Would be my advice to anybody.